Welcome to Strangest Species, Episode 5. We are back again talking about who knows what.
I'm not sure.
You have no idea, but that's okay. I'm your host, Mike Davis, here with the lovely Ethne Davis.
Hello.
How's your day going?
Good.
Yeah, it's been busy.
It has been busy. Very.
We just got home from Canada.
Yep.
And
turning around and going right back.
That is correct. Yeah, life has been very busy lately. So we're going to sneak this in here, get it up and posted, and then go from there. So, yeah, one thing that I want to touch base on, just so that everyone knows, in case you've never listened to one of our podcasts before, or maybe if you just never got this, Ethne has no idea what we are going to talk about today, or ever. She comes in blind.
100% blind. I'm kind of a little nervous every time.
As you should be. So tonight's episode is the first time we've ever covered a story that I think people might actually have heard of. And that is because there has been a Netflix series that was based on the story we're going to talk about tonight.
Interesting. Okay.
But I am 100% confident that you have never seen the show or heard the story.
Don't underestimate me, Michael.
I don't think I am.
I am not a TV watcher, so you are probably 100% correct.
Yeah. So some people might be familiar with this story, and if they are, that's totally fine. Or maybe they've seen the show on Netflix. But this is going to be some of the background to the real story that inspired said show. And we'll get to what that is here in a little bit. But the first thing I want to talk about in conjunction with today's episode is bad neighbors.
Oh.
Have you ever had a bad neighbor?
We currently have a bad neighbor.
We've had a few bad neighbors.
We sure have.
And we currently have one right now. That is very correct. We
Although
also have a very good neighbor.
Yes, we have a great neighbor.
We have lots of good neighbors.
Oh, for sure. Basically the whole neighborhood except for
One bad
our
apple.
neighbor. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's been pretty quiet lately, so I'll take that as a blessing.
Yeah. We won't get into what our neighbor has done. But needless to say, we had to put up a fence for our
Family.
minor children's
Yes.
eyes due to explicit
Contact.
X-rated content happening next door.
That's just one of so many things. So
Yeah.
anyway, the dog jumping out the window, going right through. Anyway, we're not going there, right? Or
Correct.
are we? That's not okay.
No, the story isn't about them.
Okay, perfect.
It's about bad neighbors, though.
Oh, it is about bad neighbors,
Right.
but not our bad.
Not
neighbors.
our bad neighbors.
Okay.
In college, we had a bad neighbor as well.
I mean, he grew on us.
True.
He's like the only person I've ever seen you get mad at, like
Yeah.
really mad.
Yeah. But had we actually got in a fight, he would have killed me
I mean, yeah, probably.
and buried me out back.
But he grew on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've had some bad neighbors.
But just really those two.
Yeah, that's true. Which I think in our time together is a pretty high percentage
Yeah.
for the amount of houses we lived in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
We had a fun neighbor one time. Remember our Hawaiian neighbor?
Our Hawaiian neighbor?
Mm-hmm.
What
They would
city?
just kind of here in her old house. And she would just kind of show up at her house and just kind of let herself in. And she was great.
She
Nicest
was.
person ever.
She was.
But culturally, it was funny.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I loved her though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, Ethne would be gone, and I'd be like at home by myself making dinner. She'd just like come in the back door and sit down and like hang out with me. And it was just like, oh, hey, you're here now.
Oh gosh, love her.
Yeah, but it was great. So, our story today takes place, starts with a family, the Broaddus family.
Broaddus.
Derek, Maria, and their 3 children. And they wanted to escape the hustle and bustle of the greater New York area and get out to the suburbs and have a home of their own, which is a very, familiar story to a lot of people. And they found their dream home. Now, their dream home happened to be in the town of Westfield, New Jersey, which is one of the most affluent cities in the United States. One of the highest medium incomes Big homes, beautiful homes. But they found this house, and it was built in 1905, 4,000 square feet, 6-bedroom, big, beautiful home. And they bought it in June 2nd, 2014. After a short little bidding war, they bought it for $1.3 million.
Woo.
And they were ecstatic to have it. Now, we've bought in a few homes in our time. And every time you buy a new home, you always stretch yourself, right? Well, maybe not everyone does, but I think most of us do. And you always have that little bit of feeling of like
buyer's remorse.
Not buyer's remorse, but just can we really afford to do this?
Yeah.
Did we get ourselves in too deep? And I think they felt a little bit of that, but they were just so excited. The dream home, dream neighborhood. And, but they wanted to do some of their own personal touches on it and do a little remodeling before they moved in. And so they did that. They bought it, they closed, but they didn't move in right away. They had some contractors come in and work on it and get the house the way they wanted. So as that was happening, on June 5th, so just 3 days after they closed, Derek, the dad, swung by the house on his way home from work, just to be there by himself, see what was going on with the contractors, work on some projects himself, and just really take in his new, beautiful home. When we moved into this house, I had a similar experience. We closed, we hadn't moved in. I actually came and worked on this room we're sitting in right now. And it's just weird, that first time we were in a new home, new sounds, new smells. This home's a little older. And I can remember sitting here and hearing this creaking noise. And it sounded like a swing set, like a little kid on a swing set.
Oh, I know the exact noise.
You know the exact sound. Mm-hmm. But I was by myself that first night, and it was dark, and I was working. I was like, man, what in the world is this? It's kind of a creepy noise. I wasn't scared of it, but it was just like, oh, that's weird. Lo and behold, when I found it was our gas meter.
It still makes that noise.
Still makes it sound.
We even have called them to see if there was a problem. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it makes this sounds like a kid swinging on a swing set.
Yep. Like a rusty old swing set at an old park that's been abandoned. It really is creepy. Yeah,
it'd be good for a horror soundtrack.
Perfect.
So it was kind of one of those things. He's at the house by himself. He goes outside. He's about ready to go home. It's 10 o'clock at night. He's finished doing what he wants. Steps out on the front porch. Just takes in the fresh air. Checking out the neighborhood and just be like, this is ours. This is awesome. I got my beautiful home, beautiful block, neighborhood. He goes and he checks the mail, and in there is a letter addressed to the new owners, but there's no return address. And it's in a black font. And he opens the letter, and this is what it says. You ready?
I'm not sure if I'm ready. I think I might be scared.
You might be.
Okay, I'm ready.
Dearest new neighbor of 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now. And as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched the house in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies in its walls? Why are you here? I will find out. I see already you have flooded it with contractors, so you can destroy the house as it was supposed to be. You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy. You have children. I have seen them. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. Are there more on the way? I asked the woods to bring me young blood, and it seems they have listened. Was your old house too small for your growing family? Or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out at the many windows in 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. The boulevard used to be the street to live on. You made it if you lived on the boulevard. I can't talk. Boulevard. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. Let the party begin. Signed, The Watcher.
I would legit freak out.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a letter I would like to receive.
It's like eerie and creepy, but like kind of nuanced with niceness. Ooh.
It's definitely got a tone.
Yeah.
Like a very specific, like, not poetic, but yeah, like it's got like this.
I thought of
sinister
Sarah Jessica Parker as like one of the witches luring the children.
And Hocus Pocus?
Yes.
What made you think of Hocus Pocus, huh?
Well, like luring the
I think
children.
you need to watch more horror movies.
No, with her song. You know what I'm
true.
saying?
Yeah.
Like out into the woods. And he's like, I will call to them. I was like, ooh, gosh.
That's true.
That's
Like,
the part.
That part.
Yeah.
Sarah
Anyway.
Jessica Parker.
Uh-huh. That's the first thought that came to me.
So he gets that. So what do you do with that? You just bought this house. You've probably extended yourself a little too far financially getting the house.
I don't know what you do with that. You maybe ignore it, maybe not freak your wife out about it, or maybe tell her right away. It depends on your relationship, I suppose.
Yeah.
Call the police? I think I would call the police, legit. Like,
so Derek called the police.
okay.
He did. And an officer came over, but they're like, I mean, what he wants to do.
Yeah,
what
but at
can
least
we
you're
do?
starting like a
True. You got it in
documentation.
writing now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the police came over, obviously they are like, yeah, that's weird. But, not much we can do. Keep an eye out. Let us know if anything happens. And so, yeah, I think I'd be asking some of the same questions. Do you ignore it? Is just some prank? Is it a disgruntled neighbor? Is it someone else who wanted the house that didn't get it? Is it a legitimate threat? Is there a crazy person in the area? Like your mind would be racing left and right, right? And then, yeah, do you tell your wife about the letter?
I mean, yes, you tell your wife about the letter, Michael.
Well, I don't have said
I'm
letter.
just saying, like, if this is ever a thing.
If we ever get one of these letters, I will tell you about it.
Okay, sure.
I think.
No.
Okay, I'll tell you about it.
Yes, you will.
So he does tell his wife. He tells Maria about it. And she's obviously concerned. And as they spend that night rereading it and going over it and just like, man, this is strange. But there's one line that kind of keeps popping out at him. And that is the line that says, I asked the woods to bring me young blood, and it seems they have listened. Now, what do you think that means? Like when you hear that, what do you think of?
Maybe someone that lives, because I'm imagining if they wanted to get out of the hustle bustle of the city, it's kind of got maybe a little bit of land. I don't know if you said that already or not, but I don't think so.
I did not say that.
So I'm like thinking maybe there's some person that lives like on their property. Do we know how many acres, or do we know anything about the size of their lot?
I don't. I've looked at it online, and it is. So my first thought was the same as you. Like, oh, there's a forest nearby.
Yeah.
That, there's some.
But then also they're on a
weird-
boulevard. So then you're like, well, is there really a forest? I mean,
You don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe there's some weird Blair Witch style, person that lives out in the woods. That.
Yeah. I walked out of that movie, but maybe.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
No, it's not.
A little rough to watch because of the jerkiness. But
Yeah.
so good. Anywho, I thought the same thing. Woods, forests, something like that. Turns out the woods was the last name of the couple that sold them the house.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Plot twist.
Yeah, so read just the last, like the part where it says the woods.
I asked the woods to bring me young blood, and it seems they have listened.
Okay, so it's like the neighbors were in cahoots. Okay. All right.
Not the neighbors, the previous owners.
Well, but the person writing the letter said that he asked the Woods to bring new blood. So it's like whoever wrote the letter is in cahoots with the Woods.
Correct.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
It appears.
Right.
So, so they sent an email that night to the Woods and say, hey, we got this letter. It's super freaky. Do you know anything about this? Because they mention you in the letter. And the next morning they get an email back from the Woods that says, in their 23 years of living there, they've never experienced anything like it. But that a week ago, they did get a letter from the Watcher, stating that they knew that the Woods had sold the house and that they, the Watcher, believed themselves to be the rightful owner of the house. But it didn't say anything about that. That was the extent of it. And they just like, well, this is, weird, whatever.
Right.
We've sold the house. Whatever. We're just going to ignore this. And so that's where they are, the Broaddus family. They haven't moved in. They get this letter. The Woods are kind of like, yeah, we don't know. We've never had anything like this happen. We did get this letter like a week ago as well. Good luck. So that's where they are. They get invited a few days later to a welcome barbecue in the neighborhood. And they're excited to go meet some of their neighbors and stuff. But now they also have this extra guarded caution, like, it's like Clue or Knives Out, or, where you're checking everybody, kind of like, okay, is this the creepo? Is this the person? And their immediate next door neighbors are not at the barbecue, but their next door neighbors 2 houses down are at the barbecue. And he asked the Broadduses, hey, have you met our neighbor in between the two of us? And this is very similar to our real life situation where our neighbor 2 down.
It's great.
Great. We're good friends with them.
Yep.
And we talk about our neighbor in between us all the time.
We sure do.
But their next door neighbor was a 90-year-old widow who had multiple adult children in their 60s that still lived in the home, which in of itself just screams like something's off over there.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Seems creepy.
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Yes. All these things. I'm just already yuck. Okay.
And so the police actually ended up bringing one of these sons in. His name was Michael, because people named Michael are strange.
Just like you.
Just like me. And, but nothing ever came of it. They brought him in. He's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And they're like, yeah.
Like they brought him in as the potential watcher?
Yeah. They brought him in for questioning about that.
Gotcha, yeah.
But very quickly realized, like, we got nothing on this guy. He doesn't seem to know anything. Okay. Let him go. He's just a really weirdo who lives next door. Like The Burbs. You ever seen The Burbs?
No.
A lot of movie references tonight.
Sure haven't.
Young Tom Hanks. It's really good.
No.
We'll have to watch sometime. Mm-hmm. So, not a good way to start off your new home. You've got this scary letter. You've got weird neighbors. So, this is on, the first letter was on, what did it say, June 5th?
June something, yeah.
So, they buy the house June 2nd. June 5th, he gets the letter.
The barbecue was a couple days later.
2 days later.
Yep. Fast forward.
Now we're June 19th.
Okay.
Still haven't moved into the home. Maria, the wife, stops by the house to check on progress, contractors, and there's another letter. This time, it's actually addressed to the Broaddus family.
So they know their name.
They know their name. Again, no return address.
Right.
Just this letter. Now, quick side note. In researching this story, I found quite a few different versions of all these letters. They were all like 90% the same, but there was, a line here. This one didn't have the line, but we had a different line. So if you go and look at these up on your own and you find like, oh, that's not what I found, that's probably true. Generally speaking, they were all mostly the same, but they were a little different. So here's letter 2. She opens it. Dun, dun, dun.
This is terrifying.
Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy, and I have been watching you unload carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what's in the walls yet? In time, they will. I am pleased to know your names now and the names of the young blood you have brought to me. You certainly say their names often. It has been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement? Or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic? Or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It'll help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All of the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the Watcher, and I've been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on and kindly sold it when I asked them to. I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are too, Broaddus family. Welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families to 657 Boulevard, and now it has brought you to me. Have a happy moving in day. You know I will be watching. The Watcher.
Okay, another movie reference here.
Toy Story?
Is there someone living in the walls in Toy Story?
No. I just threw that out there.
Oh, I was like, what?
Definitely not Toy Story.
Yeah, you lost me. No, there's like a movie that I've seen where someone's like living in the walls and they didn't even know it. It's like do you know what movie I'm talking about?
What movie is that? He's like a weird, like no sunlight. Not an albino, but he's...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And he saw like some horrific crime that had happened years ago and he stayed in there. Oh gosh, I can't think of it. But okay, I think the Watcher, because it's like, do you know what lives in the walls? I legitimately think he lives in the walls.
That's a really creepy thought.
Because there's no way you can know all these things already.
That's true. That's a really creepy thought. I never thought about that.
Oh, well, I just did.
Yeah.
I just went there.
Yeah. I did hear a story once, I think I don't know where I heard it from, but it was a family that moved into a house and they had a young son, maybe like 7 or 8, that kept saying, like there was a vent above his bed and he kept saying like, there's eyes in the vent. And his parents kept saying, no, you're having nightmares, you're imagining things. Yeah, lo and behold, there was a person living like in their ductwork. Yeah. And really was watching him.
Is this a true story?
Yeah, that's a true story.
Oh my gosh.
These are both true stories.
Okay. Did we find out the end, like who the Watcher is? Can you just tell me that part? Because it's killing me.
I cannot tell you.
Oh gosh. Okay.
But I don't think we have anyone living in our walls.
No.
But we would have ample space for someone to live in our walls.
Can we not even talk about it,
because
please?
of the style of construction of this house.
Can you stop talking, please?
But I've never heard anyone moving around in there.
All right. Move on. This
is official. No one lives in our walls.
Terrifying.
So that was on the 15th. So they go back to the police.
Wait, 19th?
15th.
15th. Okay.
The police come over. They're like, yep, that sucks. That's scary stuff. But
oh my God.
What do we do?
This is so creepy.
They knew the letters were coming through a New Jersey post office. And
it actually had been like postmarked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't someone just dropping them off in the mailbox. They were actually being mailed, but with no return address.
That makes me feel better.
And this is New Jersey, like just a bajillion people, right? And I read one website that actually named a city, like a small city that was like 20 miles away, that they thought this is where they were all coming from, but there was no detail as to why they thought that town was where.
Well, how would it be possible to be the Watcher if you lived that far away?
Unless you're like really crazy and you like drive out there just to mail them, to throw people off.
To throw people off. Well, if you are the watcher, you
you're
are
probably-
already crazy. I mean, who does this?
The watcher.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, makes me feel yucky inside.
They set up cameras all over the property. Derek sometimes would go and just stay all night in the house in the dark, watching out the windows, trying to find
The watcher.
Yeah, is someone prowling around? Is somebody standing creepily on the street under a light, looking at the house? Is there someone with binoculars across the street? Just trying to find anything, but never found anything. So 3 days later, third letter arrives. I will read it to you now. You ready?
I mean,
I don't think you're ready.
I think I'm terrified.
I think you are too. I think you're not going to sleep well tonight.
I agree.
You're going to make me get up with you. You have to go pee in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Here it is.
I'm also going to set parameters that you can't terrify me so that I can't sleep on the next podcast.
That's fine. Next one will be happier.
Okay. All right. Here.
I already
I'm ready.
have it planned out.
Okay. I'm ready.
657 Boulevard is turning on me. It is coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend, and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I will be patient and wait for this to pass, and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let it alone. It cries for the past and what used to be when I roamed the halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard. When I ran from room to room, imagining the life with the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. But then it got old. So did my father. But he kept watching until the day he died. Now I watch and wait for the time that the young blood will be mine again. The Watcher. Are you making a funny face?
Yeah, he's making it. I don't even know what to say. He's making it seem like he's been in the house many times running around.
Yeah, it makes me think maybe it's a crazy person. I think that's fair. Maybe his dad was like a groundskeeper or something. And maybe he would, as like a child, would come over and play while his dad worked.
Oh, that's an option. I never thought about that. Yeah. I don't know. The way he makes it sound is like he's been in there.
Or he used to sneak in and pretend to be part of the families, or pretend to I envision
Maybe
this creepy person.
He was a friend of other families that lived there.
Maybe. I just envision this creepy person sneaking in at night and just watching people sleep and roaming the hallways, pretending like he lives there, not doing anything malicious, just being super insane.
This is terrifying. I really just feel yucky. Okay. I think the faster we get this over, the better.
So they'd already sold their other home. They hadn't moved into this home yet.
Where were they living?
So they moved in with her parents.
Why is he so obsessed with the young blood?
Yeah, it's a very creepy thing.
Yeah. Does he... And he's mad at them that they haven't moved in is kind of what the letter's saying.
That's what it seems like here.
They're probably keeping their kids away more.
Right.
Because they're terrified. Yeah.
And they're remodeling it, but not coming in.
So why don't they just put it back on the market again?
Well, maybe they will.
Oh.
But they said they can't move into the house for now.
Right. Because
they move in with her parents.
In the middle of construction or whatever. Yeah.
And they're terrified of this crazy person. The police aren't getting anywhere. At one point, the police actually closed the case and say, we got nothing. And They tried, but they couldn't find anything. So the Broaddus has hired a former FBI agent to come in and do some private investigation kind of stuff.
Interesting. But they had cameras everywhere and they still couldn't catch anything or notice anything.
If they're
weird?
just mailing it in from, if you're not dropping it off physically in the mailbox, if you've got, imagine, so we live in Spokane. In my brain, I envision the South Hill, like these beautiful
Yeah.
manicured parks
Sure.
and big, rich neighborhoods. There's people walking their dogs nonstop and biking and jogging and driving and, like, I don't know.
Okay. Maybe.
I don't know. So the FBI agent finds out two things about the Watcher. At least believes that he's found out two things. One, he believes that the Watcher is female. And at one point, they actually find female DNA on the letters. At one point, again, they actually compare it to the 9-year-old widow next door because they think like maybe she is, but it doesn't match.
Doesn't match. Okay.
But they believe it's a female. And there aren't a lot of crazy criminal females, but when they are, they're crazy.
I mean, the one that stole my identity and all that kind of stuff, she was female. I just got the notice, you know? So
yeah,
I would never have guessed that. I don't know why, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
no fun.
No fun at all.
The second thing the FBI agent decides is that whoever the Watcher is has a genuine dislike for the family. It's not just some elaborate hoax or prank or someone who really, really doesn't like them.
Maybe it's like past disgruntled employee or like an old neighbor from their old neighbor from their old neighborhood that already knew the family. So then they can act like they know the kids. I mean, how do they know the kids' names?
What they say is because they talk to them all and say them, which makes it sound like they're right there, like in the walls. I mean,
you would have to be for me to, like on my own driveway, for my neighbor to hear me say my kids' names.
No, man, we yell at our kids a lot.
There's one name they would know for sure, but I mean.
But I hear like our neighbors across the street talking to their kids all the time if I'm sitting on the back porch.
But do you hear clearly enough to know their names?
Sure. I think so.
I don't know. How do you creepily listen that long and that specifically to get a name out without someone noticing you?
Get in the walls.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
In the attic, in the crawl space.
That's what I'm saying.
The secret room in the basement.
This is happening. Okay.
So they take your advice and they decide, let's just sell the house. Like, this is no fun. We don't want to be here. So they decide to sell it. And they ask $1.5 million to kind of recoup the construction and the remodels and all that. But nothing happens. They can't get a buyer. They drop it to $1.25 million. Still can't get a buyer. So then they take it off the market. The problem being that rumors had already started happening about these letters. And that's kind of why I think nobody would buy it. There's already this general consensus of, there's something weird going on with this house. That's why they're turning around and reselling it. And so they can't sell the house. They're paying huge amounts of money each month on this house. They weren't really excited about it, but they decided to sue the Woods family for not disclosing this, which ended up being kind of a big negative. Because once it went to court, it became public. And then it really came out. And then the police got like in a but the community really got after the police. Like, why in the world haven't you caught this person? And so they doubled down, but still couldn't find anything. And it just turned into a big mess. I tried looking up the lawsuit and it ended up getting tossed out of court. So nothing ever came of it. So 2 years later, they were finally able to rent the house.
So they never moved into it.
Mm-mm.
They just lived with their mom and dad, worked and paid for this mortgage. That's that empty.
Maybe it had a person in its walls, but yeah.
Okay, keep going.
So finally someone moves in. So this all took place in 2014.
You said 14. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now we're in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
In February, tenants move in. 2 weeks after they move in, they hand Derek this letter. No return address, same whatever. This is what it says. You wonder who the Watcher is. Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me. one of the so-called neighbors who has no idea who the watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. I walked by the news trucks when they took over my neighborhood and mocked me. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard. Oh, I cannot say that word. Boulevard with my orders. All hail the watcher. Maybe a car accident. Maybe a fire. Maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break. You are despised. The house and the watcher won.
Holy crap, man.
So one thing that I didn't mention that will make more sense in that letter had I mentioned it. So at one point, they tried selling the house to a developer who was going to tear it down and build 3 houses or 2 houses or something like that on the lot. And the community pulled together and rejected it. And so that never happened. And I think that's what the Watcher's talking about when he says, the army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the boulevard followed my orders to a T. And they saved 657 Boulevard. So they were finally in 2019 able to sell the house for $959,000. So they lost $500,000 in 5 years of time. But they were able to get out of it. No one ever found out who the Watcher was.
You don't have an answer to the question of who the Watcher is?
It's like watching Lost.
Oh, you know how much I hated that, though.
Loved Lost.
I loved Lost until there was no answer.
Yeah. This is a thing, and I know I'll take a lot of heat for this because no one agrees with me. I thought it was a great ending.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I just felt lost.
I think that was the point. What is the smoke monster? Who knows?
I don't need the answer to the smoke monster, but the whole time, like, where they were, why the time. Okay. Anyway. So
the Watcher's the same.
You literally are not going to tell me.
I mean, I could tell you something, but it's not true.
So there's no answer.
There's no answer.
Oh my gosh.
Nor is there a story from the new people who bought the house that the Watcher ever bothered them, which makes me think, like, I like your theory of an old neighbor from the old neighborhood that maybe like really hated him.
Yeah, and just wanted to
specifically, obviously, whoever it was specific about them. Because even though they say they've been watching it for years and their dad watched it, blah, 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 the Woods never had any problems in 23 years.
Right.
And the new tenants don't seem to have a Netflix series about them.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It has to be specific to them. So, what's the name of the Netflix show?
I don't know. I think The Watcher.
Oh, I mean, that would be
It just came out last year.
I wonder how much they dramatize it, like compared to what the true story is to what the, fabricated story. And they never found out.
No.
After all of that.
Yeah.
It must be somebody who knew them and just knew how to get under their skin and wanted to for some strange reason.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons that people do crazy things, right?
Yeah, I will take my bad neighbors for sure because they're not that bad. At this point, it's a little bit maybe but potentially entertaining. Like
your neighbors? I
mean, when something happens, I just expect something's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, but also like I don't feel at risk obviously the inappropriate stuff in the backyard was weird, but any of the other things that have happened, I'm kind of like entertainment. That's terrible to say, but it's true.
It's kind of true. So, in your opinion, do you think the Watcher was real? And then when I say that, I don't mean that all this was happening was real. And that was another hypothesis. Some people are saying like, well, you got in over your head with this house. You couldn't afford it. So you're trying to drum up this story for publicity, make a movie, make a book, make it whatever. Like,
I mean, so maybe the people that are supposed to live in this, like Derek or what?
The Broaddus family.
They're the ones that wrote the letters?
Right.
Ooh,
So are you familiar at all with the Amityville horror?
Mm-mm. You know me.
So, supposed super haunted house in Amityville, Connecticut, maybe? Somewhere
I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about it.
A book was written, kind of a fictionalized version, but from their account. Like they worked with the author, and so they get a lot of crap, a lot of blowback. Like, well, you just made this all up to make this book to make money, so there's definitely some of that.
Interesting.
With this case,
did they ever? I guess there is a Netflix show about them, and maybe somehow they're making royalties off of that. But I doubt. I don't know. Okay, that seems extremely elaborate, far too premeditated, especially because it happens so quickly. It's almost like if it had, like, if it was yourself, you would actually move your family in. You know what I mean? Because that there wasn't really any real threat.
That's a good point.
So to me, I'm like, maybe I'm in over my head and maybe it sucks, but I think I would still totally live in my house and then also, wouldn't you be doing yourself a disservice because you couldn't sell it? Like you couldn't, I don't know.
Another good point.
I don't know. I guess I just.
Yeah. So do you think there was a real Watcher? Do you think there was a real person? And again, was it real? Let's assume this was a physical person sending these letters. Do you think it was someone who actually had been watching this house for years and knew it in and out and was some weird creepoid? Or do you think it was just some disgruntled person who was angry with them?
Yeah.
And essentially some kind of elaborate prank.
Yes. I feel like that is way more possible and probable than someone that legitimately lives in the walls and stuff, because there is absolutely no way that they could know some of those things without being either having more information. Obviously they have to know the layout of the house. They have to be able to say the windows and the this and the that, like to make it real enough, which a former, maybe like an estranged family member, or who knows, would know enough to say the right things to make it seem that way. That seems way, way more probable than literally someone like being in their house that they've never known and stuff. Some people are really good storytellers, so it's like just kind of writing a story. I don't know, Mike. That's all I've got for you.
Yeah. You're probably right. If it's someone who specifically doesn't like that family, then it's probably not some super, creep or person that's been watching the house for 60 years.
Well, it's kind of like you said. The Woods never had any problems. But this person that knows this, the Broaddus family, would have to know that they were planning on moving and where they were planning on moving to be able to write the letter to the Woods. Like, if you know what I'm saying, but that's very probable. Like, kind of snoop and find things and stuff or hear stuff. Who knows?
Well, that was one thing too that was written. With the first letter came before the sale of the house was made public.
So it'd have to be someone close enough that
has to be
knew.
Someone really close to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
or in close. Well, yeah.
It's almost like I'd like to have an interview with the Broaddus family people and just be like, who in your lives could this possibly be?
Yeah, maybe it was the Woods themselves. For what purpose, I don't know. But maybe they really didn't like the Broadduses. And they were really hoping that the other people outbid them. And then they were just like, we're crazy. Let's make their lives living hell.
Even then, though, when you do the sale of a house, I mean, you don't know the family's names. It's like the kids' names.
That's true. Like when we sold our last house.
They actually don't say the kids' names. So maybe they just claim that they know the kids' names.
It's true.
But you could easily say there's 3 kids, but be like acting like you know their names, but really you don't.
But they even says, like, I will learn their name. Well, no, he does, or she, or whoever. So you're right. They do say it lots of times. Like, you say their names often.
Yeah, but
so
they don't ever
like
say their names.
Yeah.
And so that part, you could easily say that and claim that and count 3 kids.
Yeah.
And just make it seem creepier. Anyway, I don't know.
It is strange and weird and a little dark.
And now I need all of you to research more details and tell me if you guys find out your own answers.
Yeah. So if you want to kind of communicate with us, again, there's a Facebook page, Stranger Species, and you can throw your own comments, thoughts out there. You can email us, strangerspecies@gmail.com. Get in touch with us there. We'd love to hear from you. Share the show. Some of you out there, we're very grateful. There's a lot of wonderful
people that are excited about the next episode, so that's fun.
It. But please review it, share it with your friends. We're having a blast making it, so the more support we can get, obviously, the easier that is. And I think that's about all for tonight.
Until next time.
I have the content already done.
For next time?
Yep.
Ooh,
it's a strange one. Hence the name, I guess.
But not quite as creepy?
No, not creepy.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
Okay. I can handle that.
Not creepy.
You didn't say anything about this one, so it made me nervous. Like, you didn't even say, it's a good one. You're just kind of like quiet.
Yeah, Ethne does not like anything
creepy
at all. Where I do.
I don't mind a little suspense.
No, not suspense. You're fine with that.
Yeah.
You just don't like
creepy.
I have a couple ideas that we'll save for like around Halloween that are a little more
I can handle
creepy.
It. Right. I can handle it, but I don't.
But generally,
it just makes me.
They're just, random stories that are weird.
I like it.
Cool. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful week. And we will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye for now.
Thank you.